So I am a musical artist. And for the past few months, I have been gestating my debut album. And this album is honestly, it's already the coolest thing I've ever done. It's not even finished, and it already feels like the coolest art I've ever made. It is the boldest, the most daring, the most confrontational, the most challenging, and the most Reagan shit I have ever done. So I'm super excited for this album to work on it, to develop it, and to eventually get it out. But the process of developing it and getting my ideas together has been really, really fruitful. And there's been a lot of soul searching that has gone into it. This album is mainly important because it's about three things that I deeply struggle with and have always struggled with: emotionality, especially anger, rage. The album is about Blackness. It's about racism. It's about culture and history, all that. So all of it's wrapped up in Blackness. And it's also about gender and sexuality, which are tricky things to speak about, write about, parse out, but that impact all of us in different and highly unique ways. So as I've been working on the album, of course, I have to wrestle with the things. The album is about struggle. So I've been struggling with ideas about it and how it all comes together. And one of the most powerful songs on the album is called The Woman Game. And the concept of the woman game completely changed my life. It brought an epiphany to me that was absolutely insane. Here's what I realized. Imagine this is humanity, okay? It's this big rectangular expanse, and all of the interesting parts of humanity are here. All the diversities here, every single human experience we've ever had, all the different traits and qualities that human beings have, all the different desires, urges, the things in life that we all want. Imagine it's all encompassed here in this big rectangle, okay? This is humanity. This big expanse is humanity in its entirety, all right? And then if you zoom in way down here in the center of this rectangle, you'll see that there are these two tiny boxes. And they almost look like two sides of a tennis court. That's what I really imagine in my head, is a tennis court that's in the center of all of this humanity. Two small squares separated by a net, you know? And on one side of the court, there's a game being played, and the game is called The Woman Game. And on the other side of the court, another game is being played, and that game is called The Man Game. Now, the games are different. They have different names, they have different rules, but I'm willing to bet that any of you who see this video know what the rules are. I don't even have to explain the rules. That's my bet. My bet is that you already know exactly what the rules of these games are. So I felt like I was sitting at a tennis court. On one side of the net, the woman game is being played. On the other side of the net, the man game is being played. And I'm sitting in the audience. I'm watching the way the ball goes back and forth between these different games and what the rules are and how the referees work. And here's what I discovered in my epiphany. I discovered that womanhood is a game. And basically the game of womanhood is about judging yourself and being judged by others across a few different categories. The categories are basically looks, attractiveness, and relationships with men. But to break that down more specifically, it's in particular to be a good woman. It's about whiteness, or your approximation to whiteness, how white you are. It's about thinness. It's about being thin, especially in America. It's about doing and being beautiful, doing everything you can to be beautiful, whatever that means. And we're going to talk about that in a second because you know what it means. Doing whatever you can to be beautiful. And it's also about, does your life revolve around men? It's about straightness. And specifically, it's about, are you dating? Are you somebody's girlfriend? Are you somebody's wife? Are you somebody's mother? So that basically means that to win at the game of womanhood, you have to be concerned with being or looking feminine all the time, being or looking beautiful, being pretty, being cute, endless beautification, always buying makeup, high heels, clothes. If you spend a significant amount of mental energy worrying about dating men, being a wife, becoming a girlfriend, becoming a wife, becoming a mother, you're playing the game. That's what I learned. All right. Fundamentally, I learned that womanhood is determined by manhood. The role of woman is completely contextual to men in our society. Being a woman is always evaluating and reevaluating your relationship to men. Whether you're doing what you're doing to be attractive or you're doing what you're doing to rebel against the male gaze, you're still living in an inauthentic way that revolves around men. That's what I started to realize as I was like parsing out how this game was working. And then I looked to the other side of the court and I'm seeing the man game play out, all about manhood, right? And I was like, okay, manhood is very obviously judging yourself or being judged by others in the following categories. Looks, again, physique, strength, power is another big one for men. Control is a big important thing that men are supposed to always have at all times. Really, control, I think, usually ends up looking more like avoidance, but we'll talk about that in a second. And then the last category that men judge themselves on seems to be self-reliance. Basically, these are all the domains of toxic masculinity. Just so we're clear, conflating strength with a person's readiness or willingness to engage in violence. That's toxic masculinity. Conflating power with selfishness, just doing everything his own way, never asking anybody else's, opinion, forcing everyone to do everything the way he wants it. That is control. I'm a follower of Brene Brown. And if you're watching this, you probably are too. If you clicked on this video title. Control, as we know, is the near enemy of closeness. So control is about avoiding vulnerability and responsibility. Control is about always denying, blaming, and keeping people at a distance. And of course, men are supposed to be self-reliant, meaning they can take care of themselves. But I feel like in today's world, this is sort of turned into just like self-isolation. I don't need anybody. I don't have any friends because I walk alone, right? Not only are men like not taking care of themselves, but they're like isolating themselves from the world by devaluing things like love, companionship, and friendship. And all of the ideologies that go into this and all the behaviors that men are like trying to do, or the man game says you must do these things, are related to women. What it means to be a man is derived from the fear and disgust that men bear women. That's my theory. Like, if you don't look masculine, then you look feminine, and that's bad. If you're not strong, you're weak. Like a woman, like a victim, right? That's bad. If you're not powerful, then you're being overpowered, like women, right? It's important that nobody gets their way except you. If you're not in control of the situation, then you're like a woman being controlled. Do you see how it's all connected? Like, to stay in control, you've got to avoid closeness with other people. Women are allowed to have friendships and closeness with others. But if you have that, you're not manly for some reason. Like, these are all of the lines and strings that I started to see between these two games that were being played. And I'm a non-binary person. So the reason why I think all of this stood out to me is because at times I'm playing the man game and at times I'm playing the woman game, and it's nuts. And I've come to a point in my life where I'm not playing anymore, but I was just sitting out and watching the game happen. And the epiphany I had when I saw all of this was like, first of all, none of this matters. None of the stuff that is involved in either of these games is important. None of it. Absolutely none of it. Life is so much freer and fuller and amazing when you put all of that stuff down. That's what I learned. And also I had this thought. I was like, my God, how many people are walking around and they're just trying to be a good woman, or they're just trying to be a good man, and they're trying to fit themselves into these boxes, even though the boxes are crazy. The box of being a good woman is just like, make sure that your whole life revolves around men. And the man box is like, make sure your whole life revolves around not being anything like a woman. And it's just like crazy. It's crazy making, like no wonder we're so screwed up and we have so many mental health issues. All of us in this nation, we're the most medicated generation on fucking earth, like it's hard pushing us toward these like very rigid, like gender constructions, these ideas that like, to be a man, to be a woman, you have to play these games. You have to fit into these boxes or else there's no other way to be. And so I had this thought to myself. I was like, wow, wouldn't it be amazing if people could let all of that go? And instead of focusing on trying to be a good man or a good woman, we could all just focus on being good humans. That's really what it's about. There's something about, have you ever noticed how people seem to be afraid of their own humanity? It just seems like so much of our culture is about denying the fact that we're human beings. like people are undergoing surgeries to change their bodies because their bodies aren't good enough, because their bodies are too human. You know, they want their bodies to look like dolls. They want their proportions to be completely anatomically impossible. Like, there's something about this idea that like being natural, being naturally exactly who you are, our humanity, just being a human being, that's bad. That's not right. That you're not okay in your normal state. You gotta tone it down, turn it down, trim it, cut it, pluck it, cut it off. Like there's a lot that, you know, that none of that's okay. And I'm so against that. I'm so like natural over synthetic every time. I'm like, I feel like the world we're in right now, there's a lack of humanity. And I think we're all becoming increasingly less connected to each other and the world at a time when we desperately need each other and the world. And so I was like, wouldn't it be amazing if I could make this series about how to be a good human and we could all learn together? We could all make it work. I'm a work in progress, just like everybody else. You know, I've been playing these games almost as long as I can remember, you know, same as everybody else. And wouldn't it be great if we could all progress together? So that's what this show is about. Everything that you find in the show is going to be connected to this conversation of how to be a good human. Hence the name, The Good Human Project. Let's do it. Let's work on this. Let's all be works in progress together, and let's all progress together.